Guys, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with my Carle painted tissue paper, inspired tissue paper that I painted yesterday. I painted 3 different ones just because I wanted to have a mixture of colors. So I did the blue, the purple, and the green. And as I sat there and looked at the different colors and thought about yesterday's story, The Tiny Seed, I thought about a scene of a pond and a flower. So I started to think about what shapes I might need out of each of the different pieces of paper. And as you can see, I started to cut some of them out already. So I started with my flower. And to make sure that all my petals were the same size, I actually took a piece of construction paper and made the shape of the petal that I thought would be good, and then traced it on to the back of my tissue paper. And I traced it 6 times to make sure I had enough petals, and cut each one of those out. So that now I have all the petals the same size. And I'm gonna cut out my last one here for you guys, just to show you. I traced it on there. It's hard to see in this video because I did it with pencil so that it would be nice and light and wouldn't show through that very thin tissue paper. And then I decided to get my background paper. I have my sort of grayish background again. It's been kind of gray around here, so I'm okay with having a kind of gray sky for my background. So I have my 6 petals now all cut out on the purple paper. And I didn't have a great paper for the inside of the flower, so I actually just used that yellow construction paper and cut out a center for my flower. Then I went over to my green paper and just cut a really thin, long strip for my stem. I cut a leaf to put on the stem. And then I thought about my pond. So I used that blue paper because when I looked at it, it really looked like water to me. So I kind of cut out, left the bottom flat, and then cut out a kind of wavy pattern on the top. Again, I'm drawing everything on the back of the tissue paper so that if I don't like the shape of it, I can erase it and try again. And you can see I have plenty of paper left over. So if you make a mistake, it's all good. Beautiful oops. Figure out how to use it or just draw it again. Next, in my pond, I wanted to have some sort of animal. So I made a semicircle. Can you guess what it is? Any idea of what animal I might be making with it? And I've got a kind of oval shape here. Is it coming together? Does it look a little bit like a turtle to you? So I have my little turtle that I'm going to put in there. And then I thought I have extra of the green and the purple, so I made a little lily pad to put in the pond as well. Now, I really liked how Carle in the video with Mr. Rogers used a paintbrush to paint on the glue, because I think that liquid glue tends to hold things on better. So it's good to use it, but because this paper is so thin that we're working with, you don't want to glob on a whole bunch of liquid glue. So painting it on is actually a really good option to keep it thin, but also hold that tissue paper in place. So I'm just brushing liquid glue on the back of my pond. Since that's the bottom of my picture, I'm going to start there so that I have a ground to work with. Now this strip is actually a little bit longer than my background paper. Totally okay. I'm going to glue it down for now. And then, as you can see, it's kind of hanging off the edges here. All I have to do is take my scissors and trim off the extra. So there's my pond. Now I've got a ground that I can work with. Next up, although it seems silly to have a stem growing out of a pond, it's my own creative imagination, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this flower growing right out of the pond. Again, I'm going to brush the glue onto the back of the tissue paper, just like Carle does, and glue it down I'm going to try to tuck it behind the blue paper. Oops. Move it over. Make a mistake. If you peel it up soon enough, you will be able to move it. And then again, always a good idea to give it a good rub when you're gluing to make sure it really spreads out the glue and gets it stuck down. Next, I'm going to continue to build my flower. And obviously I want the center of my flower to go on top of the petals. So I'm going to actually glue down the petals next, all around the top. Good thing is if you use tissue paper, like I did for this, it's actually going to hold a little bit better because it's lighter weight than if you use construction paper to paint on. But if you used construction paper to paint on, totally okay. Just know that you're going to need probably a little bit more glue and that it's going to be a pretty heavy picture when you're all done because you're taking this heavily painted paper and piecing it all together into this collage. So it is going to have some weight to it. Trying to move quickly. Okay, so I cut out 6 petals. I actually don't think I'm going to use all of them. I think I'm pretty happy with the 5 that I have there. I'm going to come to my yellow center, and I did have pencil marks on the back of it, so that's what I was just checking. Remember, I always tell you to look for the pencil marks so that I don't have where I traced the shape sticking out on the outside of my picture. Always place that side down. So there's my flower. Now, I'm going to pause here. I'm not going to show you all of it with the turtle and the lily pad. I'll send a picture later on. But I want to talk about one other process that Carle talked about in the video. And that was going in and adding details using crayons or markers or colored pencils, whatever you have at home that you think would work best. I'm looking through my crayons to see if I have a color that would be good to add some, like in the tiny seed, the flower had all those seed pods in the center of the flower. So I want to go in and add that detail with crayon. I just added a few dots. Maybe I go in and add a little bird flying in the sky. Just to give a little more detail to my picture. Because you don't have to just stop with the collage using the paper that you painted. You can add in details with crayons. Now, I made my flower super big because I was thinking of the really big flower from the tiny seed. So when I glue this down, I'm actually going to have a tiny little turtle down here next to my big, huge flower. I can't wait to see what you create.